Pokémon. Everyone knows what it is. I mean, of course they do. It's one of the oldest franchises to exist in gaming history. But recently, a new game has sprung out about, setting new standards and raising a flag to even Nintendo themselves. Hello and welcome, fellow virgins. My name is Super Virgin, and today I'd like to talk about why Palworld is a great game. Now, for anyone watching, you have to understand what Palworld is. Most people would just say it's Pokemon with guns. And while I don't think that is a wrong assumption to make, I feel like the game is more of a hybrid between three different games. We have Ark, Survival Evolved, Breath of the Wild, and Pokemon. Usually, when a hybrid like this gets made, it loses the soul that these original games had. It ends up being an unfun mess, and it's not something we should talk about. But to many of their surprise, Palworld actually does this really well. It takes the good parts of these games and merges them together very, very well. The game is far from perfect, and it's still in early access, so we have many bugs and little glitches and whatnot, crashes of the game sometimes, and yet it is also setting a new record on Steam with a 2 million concurrent player base on Steam alone. We don't even include Xbox or Game Pass in these numbers, so we could look at maybe another 500,000 or even 1 million extra playing this game right now. The question now is, why is this game so popular? If it really is nothing more than Pokemon with guns or something like it, shouldn't only people who like Pokemon play it? Well, the thing here is, Pokemon, this might be a bit of a base take I'm trying to say right now, but Pokemon is a boring franchise. Note how I didn't say it's a boring game. I'm not saying I don't like Pokemon myself. I've played the games, and how I think most of you have spent your childhood playing these games because they're so fun and so nice to play. When we really look at it, in 20 years, what has changed? Like, what has actually changed in the last 20 years? Like, major changes in Pokemon. Yeah, not a lot. And to add insult to injury, when we look at the latest Pokemon game, Scarlet and Violet, it is a bug-filled mess, or at least it was on release. I cannot believe that a multi-billion company, one of the biggest there is in the gaming industry, Nintendo, releases a game in a state like that. That is something that I least expected of anything, especially when you look at how many great games that Nintendo comes out with. I'm looking at last year's Tears of the Kingdom, which I already stated in a previous video I thought was going to win Game of the Year. But still, we have a company as big and as successful as Nintendo, and they push out a game that is such a buggy and messy disaster. It was basically a spit in the face of the fans. Some of these fans happily swallowed that spit up and said thank you, still defending the game after being fucked over so hard. For anyone with a shred of dignity, they realized, this is enough. We cannot accept this anymore. Nothing has changed in years. We're doing this for more than a decade, and it's still the same game. Simply changing the perspective from up above to third person isn't wow. And now we're here. We have an indie studio with 4 people, and they have more creativity than 20 years worth of a multi-billion company with a giant team which probably has hundreds of people. And I'm not shitting on those people. I'm just saying, why can't these creative things come and get pushed by Nintendo themselves? Granted, it is a bit of a double-edged argument I'm making here, because yes, Pokemon is trying to cater to everyone, including little kids. So you can't go and be like, okay, we're gonna put guns in the game like Palworld does. We can't let them, shoot off a pal with a rocket launcher. We can't do that with Pokemon. But still, there is barely any creativity when it comes to Pokemon. Palworld is an eye-opening experience for us all, including Nintendo, who even made a statement that goes as followed. We have received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January 2024. Note how they don't actually say Palworld, but it's January 2024. Palworld is literally the only Pokemon-like game that has released this year. We have not granted any permission for the use of Pokemon intellectual property or assets in that game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to Pokemon. We will continue to cherish and nurture each and every Pokemon and its world, and work to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future. Now see, this would actually be a meaningful statement if Scarlet and Violet wasn't released in the way it was released, and if the game actually made changes throughout the years. This is like, I'm still stating the same argument, but you can go and say, oh, we're trying to keep Pokemon as fun and engaging as all this time, but then not make it fun and engaging, right? Just make it the same game every single time. I also want to state that if this game wasn't as successful as it was, I don't think the Pokemon company would care. And again, that is also a double-edged argument I'm making here, because yes, if it was a very small game, you could say, oh, it's not really on their radar. But, Pokemon-like games and rip-offs and whatnot have been made since like the 90s. And now we're finally getting something that is really successful because it does things differently and it does it well. And now all of a sudden, oh no, we're actually starting to lose people's interest in Pokemon because something else is coming up that's better. That is not, I don't feel like Nintendo should be like, oh. Now, why is there so much hate for this small indie game? Well, one thing is, most of this hate is posted on the cesspool called Twitter. X. Sorry. And because it'll get these people their 15 minutes of fame. But funnily enough, that is actually what it comes to for most of these people. There's a big debate going on whether or not these designs for the Pals in Palworld have been made using AI. There is literally no proof that can say, oh yeah, this is actually made by AI. There is a tool out there that can make Pokemon-like creatures. When you look at Pokemon, you realize that these are like alien-like beings that have like a bit of a cute thing to them, a bit of a cartoonish feel to them. It's not that difficult to make one of these things, right? You can make cool designs. I think that this isn't to say that it's not. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm just saying, it's not that it's such a hard task to do. So this is honestly just a baseless claim people are making. So they get their clicks and they get their 15 minutes of fame. Another thing is the first trailer that the game ever came out with is now more than a year old. So it's about a year old. This is when Palworld was revealed. It was like, oh, it's Pokemon with guns, because that's what everyone was talking about. But these designs that people are now talking about, saying like, oh, these are carbon copies of what Pokemon is making, only they changed the colors or they changed the type from a water type to a grass type, and that makes it different. No, that doesn't work like that. But these designs were in that trailer. And I'm not talking about a trailer that like 10 people saw. I'm talking about a trailer that IGN posted that got 1.8 million views on Steam, on YouTube, by the way. So it's not like people didn't know about this game, right? They can go like, oh, this is new to me, right? These designs were in there. I have seen people cry about certain designs that they knew a year ago, which proves again that these people do not care. They do not actually give a shit about whether or not this is legitimate and this is a carbon copy or whatnot. It saddens me to see such controversy. We all know that in a month time, no one will still care, because if they actually did care, and the way they do now with making their posts and trying to get clicks and making these rants, and they'd keep doing that. They keep posting, they keep ranting, trying to boycott this game. But that stops, because when GTA 6's trailer dropped a little while back, people would also be like, oh, what the fuck is this? Or what the fuck is that? Oh, I play as a female protagonist. Oh, what the fuck is this? Oh, there's a whole bunch of bad takes, but now silence. Nothing, right? They don't care. And in a month's time, it's going to be the same for Palworld. Nobody's going to care. There's people playing the game right now. They don't care. they don't care. They like the game. So do I. I've played it myself. I think it's a very good game. I think it shows that creativity again has to come from indie developers, same as I stated in my modern gaming video. It's also not because, you know, a game looks kind of like yours or takes elements from your game, successful elements, that all of a sudden it's a carbon copy and it should be destroyed, it should be cancelled, it should be they should be sued. This whole fucking idea it sucks. Many genres have like sprung about because multiple games were made that are like kind of the same. I don't think 20 years ago you would know what a Souls-like is, but now there's so many different ones, and some are really bad and they're dumb carbon copies that don't work. And you know what some are? Some are Lies of P, which I thought was an absolute banger of a game, and it's a Souls-like, but it takes elements from what makes a Souls-like, it makes it fun, it adds its own elements, and it says, here, what do you think? That's a good game. You have a game like Neo, which is good. You have so many different games in that genre that work well. You can't go and say that Mortal Kombat and Tekken are the exact same thing just because they're both fighter games. It doesn't fucking work like that. You can't go and say that. You can't say that Call of Duty and Battlefield, or let's go even further, Call of Duty and Tarkov are like the same fucking game, because they're not. They are different. They're both shooters, but they have their own elements. And I find it very weird that a fan base like the ones from Pokemon are not going like, hey Nintendo, what the fuck? These guys, these random ass dudes, have made a better Pokemon game than you. You've gotten 20 years. These guys have done it in a few years. Now, this development team has made one other game called Craftopia. It has a lot of elements of Breath of the Wild as well. It just minus the Pokemon that are in there. And I do believe that that game was kind of left in the dark when they started making Palworld. And so I do understand that there is a bit of a fear surrounding the game that it will not get as many updates. Of course, they did not expect so many players and so many sales. I have a feeling that maybe people are, you know, playing the game enough and supporting enough that they'll actually push out some updates. I'm looking forward to it, but unlike some early access games, this game has a lot of content. You have 100 plus of these pals, you have a bunch of different things to do, you have a giant map which isn't randomly generated, so everyone playing on the map plays on the same map, which is a smart thing to do actually. You have many things to unlock, dungeons to do, leveling to do, so that you can get further in the game, unlock new things. You have base building, all these different things, and they work really well. So I do think that this is a very, very beautiful game. Another little thing I wanted to state was the game is also a hybrid of 3 other games, so this whole thing about suing them or getting them cancelled is a bit weird, because should Nintendo now sue them for Pokemon or Breath of the Wild? Because it takes elements from both those games. Or maybe the ARC team should sue them, right? Or maybe we should all just fucking sue them. Is that what we're trying to do here? Maybe we should just cancel everything that is creative and fun, because maybe AI was used. Maybe they didn't do every single last thing, right? 4 fucking guys didn't do every single thing. You know that grass texture that you see in that game? That was made by someone else that didn't work in the development. You know what? We should fucking cancel that. Is that really what this is about? Pokemon needed something new. Palworld gave us that. And whether or not you like it doesn't matter, because people love it. They do. So do I. And it shows that when you neglect your player base the way that Pokemon did, someone else is going to go and say, you know what? Let's make a good game. Let's make something that is kind of like it. And that player base just flocks to the game because they finally get a drop of something new. But what do you think? Is it wrong to take a beloved franchise and take elements from it to just use in your own game? Or did Palworld open your eyes like it did with many? I'd love to hear what you think, and I'd love to hear them in the comments down below. Now, like the video if you did like it, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I want to again thank you for the amazing support my channel has been getting in this month. 2024 has been a crazy, well, not even a full month yet, but it's insane to see my channel grow so much, so many new people on there. So thank you very much for watching this video, Thank you very much for supporting my channel. If you're new, like I said before, like, subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.